Okay, let's talk about the Mughal period, and we're going to think about the grandson of Babur, who founded the Mughal dynasty. His name is Akbar, Akbar, and he reigned from 1556 to 1605. So his reign is contemporary with Mannerism and the rise of the Baroque period in Europe. He established dominion over northern and central India. We're looking at a map here of the Mughal period. And Akbar was deeply interested in spiritual and religious issues. He held weekly discussions at court, not just with representatives of various Muslim communities, but also non-Muslim theologians, including Hindus, Jains, Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians. It said that he was illiterate, but he assembled a royal studio from which he commissioned numerous illustrated manuscripts that incorporated Persian, Indian, and European elements. Let's take a look at one of these manuscripts here. This is the Akbarnama, which was commissioned in 1590 by the Emperor Akbar as the kind of official chronicle, the official history of his reign. It was written by his court historian and biographer Abdul Fazl between 1590 and 1596, and it was illustrated in those same years by about 49 different artists from the royal studio. And this is the copy that, there are multiple copies of this history, and this is the copy that was in the possession of his son, Jahangir. And we see here, this is iconic art. This is not a religious subject, so we see the use of figuration. Okay, let's look more in depth at this miniature from another manuscript. This is Jahangir, so the son of Akbar, preferring a Sufi sheikh to kings. And we see behind Jahangir here, the figure seated on this elevated platform, we see this slim crescent moon that hugs the sun's border, creating this harmonious fusion between the sun and the moon, thus day and night, which symbolizes the ruler's emperorship and his divine truth. He's shown elevated, and he is also the largest of the 5 human figures that are painted. It's almost like that sun-moon disk are also acting as his halo as well. And then on the left-hand side, we see 4 figures who kind of descend here at the bottom half of the composition of varying ethnicity. And they're kind of in this receiving line format on the blue carpet. Almost on par with the emperor's level stands a Sufi sheikh who accepts a gifted book from the emperor. Below the sheikh, and thus second in the order of hierarchical importance, is an Ottoman sultan. So this Sufi sheikh and the sultan, they are also both Muslims. He's unidentified, but we see him wearing this kind of turban that distinguishes him as a foreigner, and his hands are kind of joined together as a sign of respect. The third figure here has been identified as King James I of England. He's wearing European attire, the plumed hat, the pink cloak, the lace ruffle here, and he has this uniquely frontal posture and direct gaze that make him feel a little bit out of place. The last figure down here in the corner is Bihitir, the artist who is responsible for this miniature. And he is shown wearing a yellow jama, a robe, which indicates that he is a Hindu in service at the Mughal court. A reminder that artists who created Islamic art were not always Muslim themselves. And this, I think, really shows us the complexity of Mughal court life that was very culturally ethnically and religiously diverse. And it also speaks to the kind of prestige of the artists here. We know that there were different artists at court who were singled out for special talents. So there might be an artist who focused on calligraphy, or an artist who focused on fauna. But Bihutur's reputation is strong in formal portraiture, and we see that here in the rendering of these separate figures. All right, of course, the most famous structure from the Mughal Empire is the Taj Mahal. And it was constructed by Shah Jahan, who was the 5th ruler of the Mughal dynasty. During his 3rd year ruling, his favorite wife, known as Mumtaz Mahal, died in childbirth as she was giving birth to their 14th child. He was so sad that he started planning the construction of some sort of resting place for his wife. And the result of that is what was called the Luminous Tomb in contemporary Mughal texts, and what we call today the Taj Mahal. In general terms, Sunni Muslims favored a simple burial under an open sky. But we also see the tradition of domed mausolea for Mughals, but this is on a completely different monumental scale. So let's take a look here. Okay, so we're actually... am I going to be able to find this on the map under pressure here? Here we go. We're in Agra, northern India today. And let's take a look at the layout. So the White Tomb is here, but it's actually a whole complex. You enter through a red sandstone gate that we see up here into this large forecourt. And then the white marble mausoleum is flanked on either side by identical buildings, one of which was used as a mosque. The marble structure is then topped by a bulbous dome and surrounded by 4 minarets of equal height. Now, typically minarets are associated with mosques. Here they are not functional. They're not actually used to call the faithful to prayer, but they're ornamental. And they represent to us that Mughal focus on structural balance and harmony. The interior of the mausoleum has 8 different levels, which correspond to the 8 levels of paradise in Muslim belief. In the center hall of the main chamber, we see Mumtaz Mahal's intricately decorated marble sarcophagus on a raised platform. And then you also see a second one there because the emperor was also interred there after his death. He died almost 3 decades later. And here inside and on the exterior, this is now that more aniconic tradition where Quranic verses are inscribed into the walls. Designs, aniconic designs are inlaid with semi-precious stones that add to the splendor of the Taj Mahal's exterior. In fact, most of these precious and semi-precious stones came from quarries in Rajasthan, which is over 200 miles away. All right, the last work that we're going to look at is from the modern period. And Maqbul Fahid Hussain is one of India's most eminent painters. He attended art school in Bombay. He painted for movies. He depicts Indian subject matter in the style of contemporary European art movements. And when we go to Ch24 next in the fall, we'll learn about some of those movements like Cubism. This is a series of huge polyptychs that he did about Indian civilization. These were multiple triptych paintings commissioned in 2008 by a London-based Indian art collector as a tribute to the richness of India's history. And each panel explores a different theme that altogether create a personal vision of India. And actually Hussein refers to this collection as a museum without walls. He interweaves religious and symbolic iconography with historical figures and events. They also incorporate own personal memories from the artist's own life. And he conceived of this as a much bigger project. In fact, when he died in 2011, he was still working on it, and his ultimate vision was to create 96 total triptych panels. What we're looking at here, for example, the painting above is called Hindu Triad, and we see three different depictions of the three principal gods of the Hindu pantheon in their aspects as creator, protector, and destroyer. So creator, protector, destroyer. The panel below shows us a tale of three cities, which includes three depictions of three different major cities of India: the holy city of Varanasi, Kolkata, which was the seat of the British Raj, the British colonial capital, and then finally the capital of modern India that we see on here on the left, which is Delhi. All right, that concludes the information for chapter 12. Chapter 24. I also posted some information about the reading, some helpful questions for the reading this week, which is a secondary text. It is a scholarly article about Mughal court painting.